Okay, so it's Tasty Thursday. Now, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but sometimes when I get really excited about something, my brain kind of freaks out and I get words confused. That's exactly what happened with today's recipe. So, every time you hear me say the word arepa, you need to switch that in your brain to mean empanada. So, with that, let's get started with today's video. Hey everybody, it's Tasty Thursday again, and we are traveling, and I'm so excited. Today we are going to South America, and we haven't been to South America yet, so this will be exciting. Now, the recipe that we're making today, I got from one of my friends who happens to have grown up in South America, specifically in the northern country of Venezuela. Now, you can look at a map and see exactly where Venezuela is, but it's actually on the very northern tip on the Caribbean Sea. So it's a beautiful country right on the coast. Gorgeous. So he's going to talk to you in a few minutes and tell you a little bit more about Venezuela, but we're going to go ahead and get started making the recipe that he gave to me, and it's for something called arepas. Now, we only have a couple of ingredients. You're going to be able to assemble these, but you're going to need your adult assistant to actually do the cooking part because it's frying with hot oil, and that's kind of an adult thing to do. So, the first thing we need is some water. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is there's not really measurements. It's kind of done by feel. And then the second thing we need is something called Harina PAN, which you can find at most grocery stores in the international section. If you can't find it at your grocery store, you might have to go to a Hispanic food market, and they will definitely have it there. Basically what this is, it's just white corn that has already been cooked and dried. We're going to just add some water to it. And then we also need, for our filling, we need some cheese. Now, my friend Jesus is going to tell you about this, but I'll give you a little preview. You can actually fill arepas with all kinds of things. We're just using cheese today. That's a pretty popular way to have them in Venezuela. So, the first thing we're going to do is we've got our mixing bowl, and we're going to take 1 cup of our white corn flour. And we're going to just dump that into our bowl. And the next thing we're going to do is take about 1 cup of water, and it's lukewarm, and we're going to dump that into our bowl. And into that we're going to sprinkle just a little bit of salt. Not very much, but kind of a signature key to arepas is that it's a little bit salty. So then, be sure you have clean hands. So then you're going to start mixing this up. And you want it to be the consistency of Play-Doh. And if you have a little bit too much water, which it looks like I put a little too much water, that's okay. You just add a little bit more flour. Because remember, I said there's not really any measurements. So you just mix it around until it is like Play-Doh, which shouldn't take very long. Maybe a minute. You're going to just knead it together. Now, you could make several different bowls of this, but if you're just doing one, you could have your siblings could take turns. Each of you could do like 5 turns, and then the next person could go. Because food is a big part of Hispanic culture. In fact, meals are kind of like events. And families look forward to the time that they have to eat together and celebrate together. And this is one of the traditional items that you would have at a Venezuelan family meal. I'll add just a little bit more flour or cornmeal. And actually, my friend, he doesn't talk about this in his video, but he was telling me as we were talking that when he was growing up in high school, there were places that were like bakeries that they would go in and they would just have all different kinds of arepas laid out. Some of them would be filled with chicken and seafood and cheese, all kinds of stuff. Pretty much if you think it would be good inside an arepa, then you should try it. Okay, this is pretty good consistency. So the next thing we're going to do is just break off a little piece, and you're going to shape it into a ball. Okay. And now we're going to flatten it. Now you can either just flatten it like this, or I saw a neat trick. Whoops, that part got stuck to my hand, didn't it? I saw a neat trick if you take a piece of plastic. Now actually, where I saw this, the person was using just a plastic grocery bag that they had torn in half. But I am going to use some plastic wrap. Just put it in the middle, and you just fold it over the top, and just kind of squish it down. That keeps your hands neat, and it keeps it from sticking to your board. Okay, so we're just going to flatten it out like this. And then you can see that it peels right off. And we're going to take some of our cheese and put it right in the middle. Just a little bit more. Now if you were using meat and cheese, you would want to not put as much cheese because then your arepa would not go close very well. So we're going to just fold it over, and we're going to make like a little pocket. You actually want it to be in the shape of a half moon, which is what we're getting here. Alright, so you want to be sure that your edges are all pinched together. Now while you're doing this part, you should ask your adult assistant to go ahead and heat the oil. They want to heat it to medium heat, and it tends to be easier if you use a deeper pan than a shallow pan. So look at this. Here is our first little arepa filled with cheese. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead, and my oil is hot and ready to go. You might hear it sizzling here in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the hot oil. Get ready. Sizzle. Whoa! That means your oil's ready. So we're going to let this cook for about 3.5 to 4 minutes per side. What you're going to look for, or ask your adult assistant to look for, is when you flip the side up just a little bit, you want it to be golden brown. When one side is golden brown, that means it's time to flip it over to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and finish making our arepas. Now, what I've noticed is that you can get about 4 out of the amount of dough that we made. You can get about 4 arepas. So I'm going to go ahead and finish those. And then while I'm doing that, my friend Jesus is going to talk to you and tell you about Venezuela. And then we'll be back to serve our arepas up and see what Taste Tester thinks.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Me llamo Jesus. Hello, how are you? My name is Jesus. I teach Spanish at Oak Ridge High School. And I wanted to come here and share some information about what it's like to be a Hispanic person growing in a Hispanic country, then coming to the United States. For those of you who want to learn a little Spanish, the first word I said was hola, which is hello. And somebody says that to you, you say back hello, hola. If you want to know more about them, you can say ¿Cómo estás? That is, how are you? And you can say things like bien, gracias, fine, thanks. I was born in Venezuela, that is in South America. And it is important to know that a lot of us, when we think of Hispanic people, we think of people from Mexico. You know, I don't know if you know this, but 7 out of 10 people in the United States are from Mexico. So that is a big group. However, we have 21 countries around the world where they speak Spanish. And every country is different. They speak the same language, but they have different culture, different customs. Talking about cultures, I can tell you that growing up in Venezuela was a lot of fun. I still to this day miss my mom and dad who lived there. As growing up, they instill in me the importance of family. Hispanic families in general love family. Family is a big thing for all of us. We spend tons of weekends together, every weekend just about. Another part of our culture is festivities. We love to have fun actually. We love to have fun. We always find a reason to get together, have parties, have music, love to dance. Hispanics love to dance in general. I can dance pretty good myself. And then food. Food is big. Food, I'll give you an example real quick. For breakfast, we'll have a normal breakfast will be maybe bread, eggs, bacon, cheese, coffee, and orange juice. And yes, at 2-year-olds, I was drinking coffee. We drink coffee, even when we were little. Lunch is the biggest meal of the day, and it's a big one. And in some countries like Spain, for example, they take a 3-hour nap before they go back to work. And then, of course, dinner's around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So, as you can see, food is a big part of our life. And talking about food, if I think of my favorite foods, seafood. We run on the ocean, the Caribbean, and seafood is big in our diet. Shrimp, clams, octopus is one of my favorites. And on a day-to-day basis, there's something called arepas. And arepas is something that I believe Aunt Liz is going to talk to you about. It looks like a biscuit, but it's salty, and you could put anything you want in it, from cheese to leftovers to chicken, pork, and it tastes delicious. So I hope you have learned something today, and
Hola!
adios.
Wasn't it interesting to learn all of those facts about Venezuelan culture and family and the foods that they eat? I thought it was pretty interesting. The one thing that surprised me is that one of Jesus' favorite foods was octopus. I'm not so sure I would like octopus, but you never know. I've never tried it, so I just might. So our arepas are finished. We've got our last one ready to come out. Now, I don't think I mentioned it before. You want to ask your adult assistant to have a plate that's lined with paper towel, because you're going to want to drain these because they'll be a little bit greasy. So you're going to just gently take it out. You don't want to, you want to be very careful, because if the oil splatters, it will burn you. We'll flip it over. Look at that. And that's perfectly golden brown. That's exactly the way we want it to look. Now you're going to need to let it sit for a few minutes, because these will be incredibly hot when they come out of the oil. And if we asked Taste Tester to taste these now, it would burn his tongue, and he'd probably make some kind of crazy face like he has before. And we don't want his tongue to get burned, so we're going to let our arepas sit for just a few minutes, and then we'll be back, and he'll let us know what he thinks.
Bring your family and friends. She's a magician in the kitchen. Watched on Mondays and Thursdays. Cooking yummy foods and tasty treats. Give up waters and taste the bud sleep. It's time to eat.
Aunt Liz TV.
Aunt Liz TV.
Aunt Liz TV.
Aunt Liz TV.